All right. Kicking it off with episode number 37 and probably going to be the last one of 2024. I know everybody's sad, but everybody's got to take a few moments, hang out with the fam during Christmas time, do the holiday thing, and be looking forward to some time off. So, man, what a great year. We've had a lot that has happened. A lot has been released. We've had a lot of interviews and we've really just had a lot of fun along the way. And so it's been a blast. And got Brutal Brando and Scary Greg with us today, like always, and just ready to kick it off with a good, 2024 sending it off kind of episode. And no interview tonight. So you're just going to be hanging out with us like the old times. And while I say that, don't forget to subscribe, like, check out all the TikToks, Facebooks, Instagrams, X account posts that are out there. OnlyFans.
Yeah.
All kinds of good stuff. And you'll get to hear some like new albums to be listening to every day. Also, Brandon on Facebook and any other platform that really has it out there. Brandon does a good job of sharing, if there's a new show coming out, where they might be coming, like the flyer that posts the tour dates and stuff. And so it's always real helpful. So if you need a one-stop shop to check out what's happening, what to be listening to, go check out the Facebook page and the social media stuff. And sure you'll have plenty to keep you busy. So with all that being said, what are we going to do today? We are... Brandon, you want to tell them?
Let's talk about our favorite albums
Of 2024.
2024. Not just albums, releases. Because, there was some good EPs that came out this year too. But
that's a good point.
This was a really good year for metal. There was a lot of good stuff. And it was really difficult. But we chose to do each of our top fives, which it was tough. It was tough coming up with five, narrowing it down to that. I could easily do a 10 at the moment, but 10 would have been hard had we not done five, But now I know what all I wanted to I was wrestling with for five, and it would go in the next five sections. So, but I think it would be a lot of fun it was a lot of fun doing this exercise, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun talking about it and hearing what you guys have for your top fives.
Yeah,
So,
it should be pretty interesting. And, I used to be like, why does everybody put out their, top X amount of albums for the year? I kind of thought, it would just like flood the market as far as like all these opinions. But then again, people who are doing podcasts, as we got more and more into doing this, I realized people who do podcasts, people who do reviews, I mean, they're listening to music all year. And so it's kind of a way to just wrap up their year. And it's a really good way, to just kind of reflect back and re-listen to some of those things that were released earlier. It's actually a lot harder than you think, because you think you're going to remember all this stuff all year, but you're not. There's going to be some stuff you kind of forget about, some stuff maybe you forgot to check out, didn't have time to check out, you missed, and we're going to come back to. And you're kind of in the end of the year, you're like coming through some of those weeds again and rediscovering these bands that you got busy listening to new stuff, because like you said, new stuff just keeps coming out. And I mean, Brandon, whenever we would talk about like the new bands and new albums, I'm sorry, not new bands, but new albums for the week that would be coming out, those lists would be so long of
yeah.
all the metal. I'm just talking metal, and it would be all the different kind of metal genres. So you would even go through for the morning commutes, I realize, and you'd have to pick through them because there's more than five in a week every
Yep.
week.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes
so,
it was hard picking that. What do we do today? But
right. But it's easy to get lost in what's keep continuing to be released,
yeah, it
to try
is.
to keep up with the new stuff and not have a whole lot of time to go circle back around and listen to what you've already listened to. So, all that to say, that's what I learned, after doing this podcast, coming back together and saying, hey, let's do a top five albums as we chose, for 2024. It's just in a way to kind of wrap up and give us a chance to go back and listen through everything. So it's a good exercise. I hope everybody else out there listening gets something out of this and gets to check out maybe a band or an album that they didn't hear about, didn't get a chance to check out, forgot about, whatever, just to kind of remind you. Hoping we don't have a whole lot of overlaps. It's really cool. We usually have a lot of different kind of tastes. So really interested to hear. I'll stop talking about it, and I won't stop talking about it because the way we do this is we all kind of give our album, and that's like round one, and then round two's for the second album. And so the only thing that I kind of said that we should really do is just the order doesn't matter so much, but save your number one for last. That was kind of the only thing. If you want to mix the other four up, is whatever, that's cool. But whatever your favorite one was, let's save that for our last one. And if you have something that somebody else has, go ahead and throw that out there so that we can talk about that same thing together and not have to
No,
stop and then talk about it again later.
nope. I'm
Just
gonna sit on it and then I'm gonna say it like it's brand new. Nobody's talked about it yet.
my album is. We're like, we just talked about that. Like, why didn't you say that then? That was good. But Brandon, you're gonna kick us off.
Oh,
So
okay. All right. Well, there were a few I was wrestling with to start with my number five, but I landed on Severe Torture, Torn from the Jaws of Death. I think this was their first album since like 2012 or 2013. Man, it's strong. Super strong. I find myself just like humming some of the guitar riffs, like just on days I'm not even listening to it. Like they just pop into my head. And I find myself making stink face a lot when I'm listening to it and just smiling and making stink face at the same time. Like it's a really fun listen. It's good, just death metal. It's not like overly technical. It's fast, but it's like death metal fast. It's nothing crazy. It's just really good, and the songs are catchy, and it held my attention really really well. And it was one that I just kept going back to this year, so I felt like it deserved a spot on my list. Two of my favorite tracks are track one, The Death of Everything, and the title track, which is track four, Torn from the Jaws of Death. So if you are just wanting to check out a song or two for these albums, we say, for mine, I would lead you towards track one or four just to get you started and dip your toes into the Severe Torture, Torn from the Jaws of Death.
it's always cool when number one is one that you want to recommend because then it's kind of just like you're saying, hey, just put the album in and push play.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. So that's cool, man. That's awesome.
Sweet. I didn't have that. So good pick, Brando. That was a good album, though. I remember you suggested it earlier in the year, and I didn't remember exactly what it was until I just pulled up the artwork, and now I remember. It's a good album.
Yeah. It's,
Very good.
it's a fun listen.
Yeah, that's great. I remember you saying it too. It's a good album. Good album.
Well, I guess I'll
All right.
go.
Yep.
200 stab wounds took my fifth place. It was kind of a toss up between four and five, but I won't um, unveil my fourth pick yet. But 200 stab wounds put out manual manic procedures, and it just flat out kicked ass. Kind of like why I was like freaking out on 200 stab wounds a year or two ago. It was like groove. Like you can't get away from the groove with that band. Like they just are just such like you can't not headbang to it. And I, Brandon, you've been able to see them live a couple of times and I have not, so I'm still pissed off about that. But I'm going to see them this year. I know they tour a ton and all that, but it was just a killer album. My favorite song, I'd say, was Defiled Gestation, and also Hands of Eternity, the opening track. That's a killer tune.
Oh,
Gross Abuse
yeah.
is also good, but yeah, that album just kicked ass. It was a straight classic death metal.
Dude, I totally agree. I will say I don't have that in my top five, but it was one that I was wrestling with. It was on my runner. It's in my runner up list. It would have made my top 10 for sure. Uh, like you said, super groovy, catchy. It's almost kind of like, in the sense, the Severe Torture is just like riffs that have a rhythm that they just pop in your head. Like it's just so catchy and like memorable that you just find yourself like I find myself just like, oh yeah, start humming the riff.
Absolutely.
So just swinging a hammer at work, fucking jamming out to 200 Stab Wounds in my own head without headphones on, you
Yeah,
know.
it's like music that I
So
hear that I'm like, even if you're not a metalhead, I mean, I know people don't like the screaming and all that, but whatever, like you can't say that that doesn't keep a good beat, you know? I mean, you got to be able to
yep.
nod your head to, some.
No, I think that's a super solid, awesome choice, dude. Well
Boom.
deserving of a top five. So
What do you
awesome.
think, Zoomy?
Yeah, totally. I didn't have them on my top five, but they were like Brandon said. I think I actually wrote them down as the number seven on my list. I actually have mine numbered, but my numbers got a little bit mixed up, so that number really isn't relevant. But they're in really my top 10 as far as the top 10 albums that I thought about and wrote them down as well. So, great album. And, you said talked about a few years ago. Well, they also answered the call because last year you were like, all they're doing is touring, make an album, and they did.
You're
So
right. You are absolutely right. I did say that, and they did make an album. So, boom, it made my top five, I was happy.
that's well said, well put. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say mine is actually my comeback story of the year, and it's Volvodinia. Volvodinia, I was super impressed with. I didn't know what to expect after having to replace the vocalist. They had some shenanigans happen, and I liked their music before. Well, I'm loving what they're doing now too. So I didn't feel like they went backwards at all. I think Zwandil, I think is the guy's name, and who was guitarist, and he took over as lead singer for them.
That's a
I think
big deal. I mean, like Duncan
solid.
Bentley was the last vocalist, and he was like the face of the band. And all the other guys have personalities, and they all, do a good job of being on the internet, and doing viral stuff and all that. But man, he was definitely, when you thought about Volvadina, you couldn't help but think about him. But yeah, it's pretty cool seeing that
Yeah,
guy step up after all that horrible stuff that went on with them. But glad to see him bounce back. I too did not know what their future was going to hold. I was
yeah. I'm
curious.
I'm so hopeful for what they've got going forward. I think they're going to continue to write good music. This was a solid album, and whenever I listen to it, I can't help but enjoy most of the tracks. And two of them that stood out to me, The Randlord. The Randlord is so solid. It's got some really, really great guitar work in it, and kind of makes it's one of those songs when it's over, I'm like, oh. And so I find myself even backing that one up to play it in extra time whenever I'm listening through the album. The second album is an I Wanna, and this was one of the singles that they actually released. But I was really impressed with this one. I'm a huge Dying Fetus fan. They're like my favorite death metal band probably, and at least old school style death metal. But they have this very like rhythmic groove, and I actually felt that kind of those kind of hits in the song Isn't I Wanna. And so, I mean, as soon as I heard it, I thought, man, this just has such a Dying Fetus feel to it. And I just loved that. Uh, but yeah, solid album. And I'm really, really excited and happy that they put some, I mean, music out that's, like kind of continuing to move them forward. And that's all you want, whenever you're a fan of a band and, you like what they're doing and they have some changes and you're like, oh no, what's that gonna do? And then it ends up being like awesome. That's great. So I definitely throw that out there as in my top five.
Hell yeah. Another super solid pick. Um, it was in consideration for me, but didn't make my list. So far no overlap. But yeah, I agree. Like it was a super strong follow up to Praenuntius Infiniti, which was the album that got me into them. I think I still listen to that album. It's just awesome. But this one was a great follow up. They did a really good job with it. Got to see them too. Greg, you mentioned I saw 200 Stab Wounds this year. I also got to see Volvodinia this year, which was awesome. Like they put on a hell of a
Oh,
show. So
hell yeah.
yeah, they're doing stellar things, and I like. There's probably so much more good stuff to come from that band. Like I'm excited to see what happens.
Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah, they got a big future for sure.
Well, number four, Brando.
All right, so this one snuck up on me. This one fell between the cracks. I listened to it a lot in, I want to say like May, maybe June. Um, and then a lot of good stuff came out, and this one like just kind of fell to the wayside. When I was going back through my list, I rediscovered it, and it is Unhallowed Deliverance. The album is Of Spectres and Strife. It is brutal technical death metal. It's one of the guitar players from Stillbirth. The drummer and bass player, I believe, have also filled in for live duties with Stillbirth. I think I found them through the metal injection stuff and also looking up members of Stillbirth because I went through a little obsessed stage of phase in my life of Stillbirth. Um, but dude, the instrumental work on this album is phenomenal. The bass player is out of this world awesome. Like it's really cool. It's unique. Also, I think like they kind of have a unique sound to their technical brutality. So I highly recommend anyone that hasn't heard of this band or checked them out, give them a chance. And I would point you in the direction of track 2, which is "They Will Eat Us Raw," and track 3, "We Slither." Now the other ones are also very awesome, but these two kind of stand out to me. So yeah, "Unhallowed Deliverance."
Hell yeah.
That's
I
good.
did not have that on my list. I hadn't even heard of it, honestly.
I did not have it on my list,
Have you
but
told
I
us about
remember.
that before?
I did when I was kind of obsessing over it for a couple weeks, but I don't think I like really pushed it on y'all like I did some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
remember
good.
you
Check it
bringing it
out.
up. Yeah, I remember you pointing out all the awesome bass work. I checked it out, man, but it wasn't on my list. Not because I didn't think it was awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
Right
Greg,
on.
what do you have for number
My
4?
fourth is the Disentomb EP, Nothing Above, that they put out. My only complaint with that, when it first came out, I really didn't. I mean, I'd heard a couple of the tracks because they did the thing where it's like 4 or 5 songs and you already put out 2 of them. It's like you really don't leave too much to the old imagination. So I just felt like right when it came out, like, oh well, I've already heard half of it, but no, it's killer. The opening track, Druid Prophecies, just has that classic Disentomb tone. Like they have a tone and a sound that nobody else has, and that's one thing that I love about them is it's like super unique. Like even though they're kind of the fall into that bad production on purpose category of brutal death metal, like you can just hear their guitar tone, especially in the last couple few releases, and it's just it's Disentomb. But Druid Prophecies, the opening track is killer, and then I would say Nothing Above, the last track, is my second favorite. But again, they've got a song called No God Uncovered with a vocalist, John Davy from Job for a Cowboy. That song's really cool. And then, I mean, there's one more song called When the Black Begins, the fork something something that's not long enough for me to be able to read on my phone. So, anyways, Disentomb EP, it was killer, and yeah, made my fourth spot.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Another solid choice.
can't go
Um,
wrong with some Disentomb.
no, not at all. And I did not have them on my list. But you're right. They have a very unique sound. Like you can always tell when Disentomb, like when one album ends and it like just kicks on a random, can
Yep.
always be like, this sounds like Disentombed. And then sure enough, it is. It is a really good release. Like the EP was really cool. I actually steered away from the singles. So when the
Good.
EP was released, it was all fresh for me.
That's
Um,
cool.
that's one of the reasons I know I've said it before. I'm not a big fan. I get why they do it, but I'm not a big fan of the single stuff. Like I think it's cool if it's an album and you're just releasing 1 or 2 songs, but
I get it.
like you said, when half of the release is already out for months before the final, like before everything, it just takes away from the excitement of all the new stuff, because especially when it's a 4 song EP, there's not much more to get excited about, which
I
is
couldn't
the
help it with
only.
them. Their last album was in 2019, so I just freaked out and had to check it out.
Yeah,
But
Craving the new
I know,
music.
man.
yeah,
Yep.
I wish
Yeah,
I would have
yeah.
waited though. I wish I would
I
have
don't,
waited.
I don't, I don't blame you for listening to it. I mean, that's why they put it out, right? They want everyone to listen to the singles. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
that was the direction they wanted to go. I mean,
And I
hats
ordered
off to
merch.
them.
I
Yeah,
did it. I did exactly what they wanted me to do. I checked the new single out. I ordered merch. And hey, guess what? The merch kicks ass. I'd buy it again.
there you
So
go. Yeah, they
That's
they
have
got
awesome.
cool
me.
artwork.
They got
They
me.
do have a lot of cool artwork and stuff. So,
Yeah.
stellar choice, man.
Yeah,
Right
couldn't
on.
agree more.
Who you
Couldn't
got,
agree
Zoomy?
more. Mine is actually Last 10 Seconds of Life, No Name Graves.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
what's interesting about this album is it would have never been in my top five whenever it first came out. Not because it isn't good, but um, I guess it just didn't stand out to me initially as just being that awesome. And I think one of the things that really changed it for me was seeing them live. And whenever I got to see him live, I mean, I was able to listen to that album an entire different way. And I don't even really know why.
I
Um,
100% agree though about the whole band for me in general. Like
yeah,
after
everything.
the
It's like,
show, I listened to him way more than I did before, and I was like, dude,
yeah,
it was great. It really,
absolutely.
and it's a rare experience. That doesn't happen to me all the time at all.
Exactly. And I love it when live music does that to you, whenever it just like changes. And now I listen to the album and again it's one of my favorite albums and it just opens with Of All Humanity the Sum and it has the This is your punishment. And I mean it just kind of sets the whole tone for the album. And one thing really fun about it too is they have a lot of different guest vocalists that come through what is it Devin Swank? Is that the guy's name from Sang with Sugarbog? Yeah, the lead singer, I believe. He does a song like with them, like the title song. I think No Name Graves. I think that's the track that he's on. So they've got a whole bunch of them, but or a bunch of different guest singers that come in, guest vocalists. But it starts out great with Of All Humanity, the Sum, and then Body of a Bastard. I think is the third or fourth track on there, and it's a great song as well. So, um, you know, first song again. So put it in, push play.
Boom.
There you have
Put it
it.
in, push play, get addicted.
That's right. That's right.
There you
And
go.
fun album. And I appreciate those guys for putting that out. And also shout out to Dylan who plays drums. He took some time this year and came out and hung out with us and talked with us, and that was a lot of fun too. And
Oh yeah.
that made it. That made us instant fans, and they're a part of the Metal Block family. So we love those guys.
Yeah, that was cool being able to see them after we interviewed them, and like, actually meet a person that we just talked to. That was a cool experience.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite highlights, of the year for sure.
Yeah, and Dylan's a sweetheart. So if you're listening to this, Dylan, you're a sweetheart, buddy. It's been a pleasure.
We love you, Dylan. We love No Name
Love
Graves.
you.
We love Last 10 Seconds of Life. All right,
Very
Brandon.
cool.
Number
All
three.
right. Well, I did not have that one. Good choice, by the way. Um, all right, my number three. Sure, y'all will guess this already, but Kira's Homo Homini Lupus. And my two favorite tracks are track one, Exist for War, and track four, Pale Horse of Extinction. So I think for me, this album is, I don't know. I mean, you guys listened to it too, right? We reviewed it once on for one of our episodes earlier this year. I would call it like melodic blackened death metal, right? But like kind of heavy on the blackened side. Um, I'm not usually a big fan of black metal. This album spoke to me, and I just felt like I think maybe it. I don't know if this is what it is, but there's like this sense and tone of anger in the music that just like it just sounds furious, and man, it just hits me like in all the right spots when I'm listening to it. I love the melodic parts and just the ferocity of the songs. Like it's just mean. It just sounds mean to me, and it kept me coming back like all year. Something would just remind me of it, and I get mad at work a lot, driving around and stuff too in Houston traffic, but like it helped. And that album, just that one in particular, I know it came out really early in the year, I think, but it stuck with me all year. It was on my mind all year long, so I felt it was deserving of one of my top three spots.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
Oh
remember us
yeah,
talking about that. We had an episode where we talked about that album, and or
Hmm.
at least I remember mentioning it because that's the Wolfman from Wolfman or Homo homini lupus. That's like
Yes.
I forget what it means now, but something like to call somebody like they are like a wolf or something like it's an old, not an old saying, but it's a saying. So I remember that one because of the wolf. Sorry,
I
that's
remember
all I
that
was
one because
getting at.
Brandon
The
was
wolf.
hyped on it. Brandon
Brandon
was
Yes.
loved that.
hyped on that
Yes.
album. Yeah,
Dude,
for weeks.
I
Hyped.
I am still very hyped on it,
You're like, did
Greg.
you
I'm
guys listen to it
still
yet again? All the way through?
yeah.
Start to finish? Like, dude, only twice this week, Brandon. Calm down.
Oh, that's great. But that's why this is so much fun, like finding the bands, talking about the bands, remembering the bands, like, oh, it's so great. So great. Good choice, Brando.
Yep. Good
What do you
choice.
got,
Good
Greg?
choice. That was not on my list. Good choice, though. Mine is definitely not on either of yours. It's a band called Boundaries, and an album. The name is Death is Little More, and it is it's kind of more like metalcore, hardcore-ish. But it's just damn good. It's just really good. It reminded me of like older metalcore, like true real metalcore, and it was just really refreshing. A lot of emotion and energy in it, and yeah. Let me see. What were my? I'd say "Turning Hate into Rage" is one of my favorite songs on it, and then man, the whole album's really good. But then probably easily erased or cursed to remember. But it's just a really, really, really good album. Super cool tone, and yeah, if anyone's into metalcore, check them out. Boundaries, they're super underrated band, but man, I missed a show at 89th Street because I just flat out forgot about it. We all have busy lives, and man, I saw the footage the next day, and I'm so pissed. So, one of those deals. They're a pretty young band, so they'll
They'll
be
be
back.
back.
Yeah, exactly. But no, killer
Yeah.
album. I don't expect either of you to have heard it, but if you feel like some more, it's not emo, but it's definitely more emotional than our normal
Well,
genre of music.
I did give that one a spin,
Yeah, it's
so to speak,
probably not
in the
Brando's
truck.
taste.
Yeah, not really up my alley, but I get the appeal, and I know it
Yeah.
was it got a really good reception this
Mm-hmm.
year from the metalcore, deathcore scene. I think
Yep. For
I know I
sure.
saw it like it was all over a lot of the groups and stuff. So like for a while,
Yeah, it's
still
like
even I've
they're
seen
like
people post about it. So I I know it was
honestly
a
like
very positively received album.
yeah, it's a band that people are like they're better musicians than Knocked Loose. Why? Why is it? They deserve that. Yada yada. And it's like I mean everybody fits their place. So
Man,
there you go.
like, can we just take this moment to remind people, uh, it's not a competition. It's just art and personal
Yeah,
preference.
it's
Like
art.
it's just people's expression of themselves, and like it doesn't need to be they're better than this band or whatever. Like
I know.
why we, I think slightly off topic. I saw a post a few weeks ago. Somebody said like, "Oh, who's the worst band and why?" And I was like, boo to that question. Like, fuck that. Why unnecessarily put down people who are putting themselves out there, Like, let's just talk about the bands we love. You just don't have to talk about the ones
I
you don't
get really
like.
sick of like the musician comparison posts, like is George Colias
Yeah.
better than so and so, or yada yada. It's like, how about they both kick ass, man? They both put out killer
Yeah.
music catalogs over their lives. Like, how about I don't know. I'm like, I like both of their bodies of work, but everyone always says like hippies always do this shit to me. Always. It's always like the Fish drummer versus Danny Carey. Always this person versus Danny Carey. For this person versus and then they'll pick like someone like George Colias versus Danny Carey. I'm like, that's not a comparison. It's two
Not at
different
all.
things. Appreciate them for what they are. Next question. I don't know. Sorry,
Yes.
you
No.
struck a chord with me. I hate the
I know.
comparisons.
You struck a chord with me.
It's kind of funny. I am going to Google real fast, so you guys just humor me. We don't normally do this where we're like looking something up on the show, but I'm going to Google
I do
top
sometimes.
five most skilled guitarists of all time. Okay, top,
Yes. See what the AI overview has to tell you.
and I'm going to bring this. I've got a point in the end, and hopefully
I can
it
feel it
it
coming.
proves my point. And if
Thank
not, then I'll
you.
be like, oh, okay. Top five most skilled guitar players of all time. Let's see if we can find us. Sorry, I hit the
Drum
Google
roll.
shopping. I hit the Google shopping. I was Google shopping for the top
No.
5.
You know, buy
Here we
them,
go. We're gonna try that one more time.
buy 5 guitars for Christmas on accident.
It's a good accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay. Who is the most skilled, technically talented? Okay. All right. Here you go. This is a better comparison. Let's just do the one and the one. Okay. And here's what I mean. The most technically talented guitarist, and I just Googled, and you know who comes up? Steve Vai. Okay. I'm not saying he is.
I knew I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, Steve Vai. I mean, he's the dude is just out there. As a matter of fact, one of the videos I probably watch all the time on YouTube is the like guitar duel in Crossroads with Ralph Macchio and Steve Vai, where Steve Vai's like the devil, and he's like doing the duel with the devil, you know, to win the soul back. And so anyway, I love that. I love Steve Vai, but he's not the most popular guitarist. He may be listed right here as one of the most technically skilled guitarists, but he is not listed as one of the most popular guitarists.
Right.
And one of the most popular guitarists, number 1 here, Jimi Hendrix. Okay. So, and those two are like two different worlds. They were both innovators. They were both great at what they did, but the skill level or the technical skill level in almost at Satriani in Steve Vai's guitar playing is completely different than Jimi Hendrix. I mean, they're just different levels. So being the best musician doesn't always translate to the most popular musician. And I would actually say it probably rarely translates to the most popular musician. And so just to piggyback on what you said, I know that was a little bit of a waste of time, but it still was, I don't know.
I thought one was going to be Prince. I'm shocked one of them wasn't Prince. I was waiting for that.
Well,
which, by the way, that dude could shred.
He can. And if I spent a little bit more time on, you know, looking, we'd be able to find a bunch of different little patterns. But
side
what
note,
I was
never
going
really
at,
understood the popularity of Prince. It's kind of a weird deal to me. Anybody else feel that way, or are you guys Prince fans?
I don't know, man. I can definitely dig on a few of the Prince songs.
Can you? Okay. See, I have some like super macho buddies that were like, I mean, like aggressively obsessed with him, and it was like Anthony Fasciano. He was obsessed with Prince, and I'm like,
that's hilarious.
Okay, you know,
that's funny.
But
I'm a fan of the Dave Chappelle Prince skits.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, but sorry, I just had to ask that side question. It's always been a very mysterious thing to me, so I just had to ask.
Fair enough.
I always remember Pussy Control.
Yeah.
Always remember that
Purple
song.
Rain, yeah.
Nice. Purple Rain, that's a good one.
Assless chaps, rocking. Sorry, side quest.
So wait, okay, do you remember Purple Rain? Do you remember it raining when Prince played Purple Rain?
Yes, I can see it right. Yes, I just watched it the other day.
It's like, was that planned? Is the government like doing weather planning, like everybody says?
Yeah.
Where are we? Whose turn is it?
We're number 2 now, Brandon.
It's your turn for number 3.
All right,
okay.
Here's what's funny. I tried to not put these guys on the list because they're already so good and they're already on so many people's lists. The reason they ended up being on my list is because what they ended up making me do was they ended up making me listen to a bunch of different albums, trying to find other albums to put them in place of. And in turn, I realized that, well, all they make me do is listen to more metal. So in a way, I was like, yeah, they're going on my list. And so I'm going to be the first one to say them. Maybe they aren't on y'all's list, but I'm going with Aborted.
I knew it.
And Vault of Horrors, that album was just strong from the very beginning, strong throughout. And then the horror movie theme, always, you know, that's what they do, and it's always fun. And they did like Death Cult, which was a track they had on there for like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And that was one of the singles that had a video that they released. And they also had Hellbound, which I think is a Hellraiser one, if I remember right. And I hope I'm saying that right. But anyways, it's another good track that's on the album.
The killer album. I actually, that probably would have made my top 5. I forgot about that album. I can't believe I did. But that is killer. That was a killer release.
It was always like at the top for me because this album really like brought Aborted back to being a fun favorite band
100%.
for me. And
for everybody.
I was just so excited to see that what they put out really brought me back to being a fan because I don't want to say they lost me for a while. I think they're great, but I guess maybe I was just really desiring them to do something a little different than what they were doing. And this album kind of did it for me and in a way that wasn't what I was expecting still. It surprised me. So check it out if you haven't already. Most metalheads out there are checking out Aborted. So it was called Vault of Horrors. Oh, and the album art. I loved that. It was like all the dead bodies shaped together to make a skeleton skull. It's creative.
Yes. So I did not have this on my list. It was one that it was a strong internal battle for myself. Like I I don't want to say I guess I did purposely like kind of leave it off. I felt like there was some other stuff that I really wanted to talk about and that made an impression on me. But holy shit, that is a fantastic album. It absolutely is in my like top seven, like easily, like for this year. Um, got the opportunity to see them live this year too. Like I went to a shitload of concerts this year, guys. Like a lot. It was awesome. It was a great year. Um, man, they are top tier musicians, not just at live shows. Like their live shows are out of this world. You will never be disappointed, especially if you want to see them play the song "The Carnage Done" because it is one. I think I've seen Aborted at least six times, and every single time they play that song as their encore. It is the encore every single time. Um, that album is killer though. Like you're absolutely right about the songs you said are awesome. Dreadbringer was one that I loved a lot too. The opening track, that one and Death Cult were my two favorites. But
Yeah.
something cool is that every single song had a guest on it, and they wrote that in beautifully. Like it meshed so well. Some parts it was even hard to tell there was a guest, but like where the guest started and stopped. But in cohesion with the band and with Sven. Like just out of this world band. Like there's just not enough good things to say about them. So I wasn't a fan of Mania Cult, but this one, good choice. Sorry,
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. I was going blank on the last album's name whenever I was saying it, and I couldn't remember it in the moment, so I didn't say it, but that was it. So thank you.
yeah, TerraVision was really cool too.
Well, that's my number three. So, Brandon,
All right. So my number two, pulling up my list here, was a guest on our show. Well, one of them was one of the members. I have Ancient Entities, Echoes of Annihilation as my number two. Um, songs of note are track three, Creatures from the Sand, and track five, Ritual Autopsy. Greg, you mentioned with 200 stab wounds, the groove, and like, dude, these guys hit groove. Like, I don't think they stop hitting groove on this entire album. Like, the whole thing is groove, and they have super heavy breakdowns. Are, I mean, their use of pinch harmonics on the guitars really pulled me in. Like, I love pinch harmonics. They borderline abuse the shit out of it. Like, it is awesome. I fucking love it. Like, abuse it in a good way. Like, it's just so prevalent in the album. And the energy, like, we talked once about when we had Brian on, the vocalist, about like, how do you guys, how do you define your sound, And Zoomy, you and I had argued, not argued, but discussed it about, technical death metal, brutal. I hear a little bit of death grind in there. There are some elements of like Misery Index. And I mean, I said earlier in our episode, I went through a little phase with Stillbirth. I have a long phase of obsession with Misery Index. Those guys have a special place in my heart, and that sound that they have is just so rhythmic and groovy, but so aggressive. And I got that same vibe from this album, which I mean, I had a hard time picking two songs. Not gonna lie, like that's how one of the reasons I knew I wanted it to be up near my very very top is I had a really hard time narrowing down two songs to list. So Yeah, Ancient Entities, Echoes of Annihilation. I will shut up now.
That was a great album, and I'm glad you picked it too because well deserving. And also shout out, again to them, to Brian, for coming and taking some time to hang out with us and talk to us about the album. I mean, that one was super cool. Just getting to know him because we just sent an email or a message out and said, "Hey, do you want to come join the podcast for an episode?" And it was just like, "Yeah, sure." And I feel like we had a really good time. We laughed a whole lot on that episode, which is always fun whenever you can kind of get that back and forth going really good with who you're hanging out with on the show, and just to learn about them. And I had never really heard them or done anything like listened to them before, and so it was just cool that they crossed that we were able to cross paths with them and that album because like you mentioned, man, good choice, great album, and deserving of top five.
Thank you.
Right on. It was not on my top five, but I'll bust out my number two. It was Knocked Loose. Kind of cliche, but I don't care. It was that good. It's called You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to. Super good. They were just on Jimmy Kimmel, which kind of stirred up the world there and made a bunch of Christians really mad. And people were very upset with Jimmy Kimmel for putting such a demonic sounding band on mainstream TV. But it's good. It's good for the masses to see something different, every once in a while and stir things up a little bit. But I'd say my favorite songs are Piece by Piece, um, The Calm That Keeps You Awake, and Blinding Faith. And yeah, I highly doubt that's on either of your two's top fives. But yeah, really, really good band again. Kind of the less is more approach, just like Riff City. Can't help but bang your head to it. It's just really good. I know the vocals drive people insane. I happen to love them. I've watched the band grow up since their first release in like 2016 and on. So it's been cool to see them blow up. I used to see them at 89th Street with about 20 people, and now they're on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. So yeah, it's a cool story.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I think
Yeah.
it's a great album. I mean, it comes up on my random shuffle a lot too, just from us checking it out this year. And I listened to it several times through. It's a quick, easy listen, but you know, you comment on like the simplicity side of it. That's not a knock on things at all.
No, not at
Um,
all.
because like we were saying earlier, right? The most technically skilled is not always the most popular, and so to be able to I don't know, put some music out that doesn't require you to be like super smart to listen to, like, oh gosh, and interpret everything that's doing. Because some of the bands that we put out, like, listen to this year, some of them are exhausting to listen to, and it's only because they're that
Yeah,
amazing. They're that
absolutely.
amazing, and
Yeah.
that doesn't happen with Knocked Loose. You can actually like sit back. Knocked Loose is a band for me that like when I want to clean the house, I can put Knocked Loose on, and I can always hear like a good part of the song. Whenever
Yeah,
I break away for a second to listen to what's going on, I'm always like, oh yeah, I love this part. And so
yeah, yeah.
the whole album's great, and it's just easy listening metal in my opinion, if there is such a thing. But it's not easy listening at all. I
No,
have
not
no
at all.
idea,
Those
like that
vocals are
doesn't
very shrieky.
yeah, but you can put it on and rock out to it and have a good time listening to that one. It's a good album. I'm glad it was one that we got to talk about today.
Boom. What are you rocking on
Nice.
number deuce?
So number two for me, Brandon, you did Ancient Entities last time because, or not because, but mentioned that was awesome because it was also somebody we had done an interview with. I did Carrie and Vale, and we did an interview with Ryan, and that was a lot of fun. And Carrie and Vale put out an album, Cannibals Anonymous. We got a chance to talk about the album on an episode, and also interview Ryan on another episode. And so, kind of a little bit of a double dose of Carrie and Vale, but that was a lot of fun just checking those guys out and getting to be a little bit more familiar with that band. And that was a band that you kind of introduced us to, Brandon, because
Hmm.
you saw them live down in Houston.
I
And
did.
you brought them up because you talked to Ryan and you were like, you check these guys out. They're a real good band. They put out the album, Cannibals Anonymous, and I love that album. I think, first off, production quality is just amazing. Um, One of the things that stood out to me is the clean vocals of their singer. I think, and he actually even emailed me, um, and he talked to me about the album a little bit more. Travis Lawson. Travis Lawson is the vocalist, Carrion Vale, and he has these cleans that I really love, and they remind me of like Typo Negative, some old school like Peter Steele, like and I love Typo Negative. I'm a huge fan, and so that was the first thing that kind of stood out to me, and it happens like the first track. I actually wrote down Love Zombie and Pins and Needles are two of the tracks that I think people could check out, but the opening track, which I'm just in a world of grim. I was like, it's something grim, but in a world of grim, that's a real cool track too. And so again, number one, it starts out strong, and I actually going back through this, I wouldn't have realized, and I would put I would show you guys here, but you can't really see it. But I'm pretty sure the artwork, pretty sure there is a veiny wiener on there. I'm pretty sure.
That bad boy is on my shirt.
Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's
And
go.
I never even
That's what
saw
I'm
that
talking
at the
about.
first time I was going through
Yeah.
because it's got like teeth and different and anyway, all kinds of stuff. But yeah,
Nice.
there's a veiny wiener. It's there. And so real quick though, I just want to mention
Great.
Cannibals Anonymous. Travis through the email whenever we were talking, he said that like Jeffrey Dahmer, whenever he was arrested, he hung a sign in his jail cell that said he was holding Cannibals Anonymous meetings. And so that was kind of serial killer theme is where it all, kind of comes from. It touches on a lot of different aspects of cannibals. And so Discount Meats, Joaquin Kroll, when he was arrested, he said he ate people because groceries were just so expensive. And so they have a song called Discount Meats on there. So there's a kind of neat story behind each of these, and
It's
it's
cool.
it's themed. And the deeper I dug into that album, I really enjoyed it. And so that's why it made my list. A lot of fun. I even listened to it again today. I didn't listen to my number one today. I listened to Carrion Vale Cannibals Anonymous today. So I love that album, and number two for me.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yes, that is a good one. I don't have it on my list, um, top 10, but that one is great. I did get to see them this year. I was super excited about it. I actually found out about that band before this album came out, and it was because I had looked up Ryan because he filled in for Summoning the Lich on guitar on the Rags to Riffage thing. And I didn't know he was a fill in for Summoning the Lich until I saw a post of them thanking him. And I was like, oh shit, well then what does this guy do? So I checked him out on Metal Archives and found that and his like Severed Head Shop band and you know, like started diving in when I saw their previous album, I'm having trouble remembering the title, but I was like, damn, that is awesome. So when they put out Cannibals Anonymous, I remember sending him a message being like, dude, why don't you come on and come talk to us? But super awesome dude. They all were really nice. I met the bass player too at the show. Like Travis also at the merch table. Like they were all so friendly and open and welcoming. Like it, great guys, great band, great album, very deserving of a top five list. So uh, very good choice.
Thanks, man. And just a note, Abhorrent Obsessions. Abhorrent
Yes,
Obsessions is the name of that album that came out before Cannibals
thank you.
Anonymous. So
Yes,
yeah, I got familiar with them and checked out that. It's a great album too. So you can even go listen to that one and you will not be disappointed. You'll have a good time.
hell yeah.
All right, here we
All
are.
right, Brando. Let's hear the number one.
Number one for
Okay,
Brando.
do,
I know it.
do you think you know it?
I know
Do
it.
you think you
I
can
don't think I
guess?
do.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
do.
so this was when my
Would
Apple
it
Music
be?
replay thing came out. This was my top album for 2 months in a row, most listened to. Uh, it features two members of Psychroptic, drummer
Oh,
and
okay.
guitar player, uh, the Haley brothers. My number one album and band is Abramelin. Sins of the Father is the album. Um, Holy fuck. That's, I mean, I don't know really what to say about this album, except like every time I turn it on, I get this super cheesy grin. Like, it is just blasting the energetic riffs of groovy melody, and it just like sucks me in so hard. Like, I was driving to San Antonio in October by myself. My family was already there with my in-laws staying at a house, and I had this and Kira's going, and I listened to this album probably three times. It's the same weekend Undeath came out, and I listened to that one too. But uh, I don't know, man. I just like just stupid ear to ear grin listening to this. I don't know what else to say except check it out. That's my two of my favorite songs are track 5, Last Right, and track 8, Meet the Meat. Um, Dude, I just there's not enough time for me to talk about this album. Like for me, it's just really really cool. I had not heard of them. Came across it on the Metal Injection weekly injection when it came out. Just went and checked it out. Then found out that guys from Psychroptic were in it and stuff. Like after I was already like, dude, this is sick. And then I just fell in love with it more. And I could hear that Psychroptic guitar tone and everything. And I was just like, this is killer. So if anyone out there that hasn't checked this out, please do. Do yourself a favor. It's awesome. It turns out they've been a band since like the 90s. Only since like 2020 or something like that have the brothers from Psychroptic been in it, but super cool. Abramelin, Sins of the Father.
It's a good album too, man.
I should have
Jeez.
known. I should have known. And you said that. I was like, that's exactly what I should have guessed.
Yeah, dude, it's just good. It's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it was a good album. It was. It was damn good. I checked it out a couple times. That was not on my list, but my number one, is probably easy to guess for me, was definitely Kubla Khan's new album, Exhibition of Prowess. I listened to it probably a million times. Darwinism is probably my favorite song. I just love the intro. The intro is just fantastic the way they did it. Goes straight to the second song, which is it's got a lot of energy. It's just like straight up fuck you music, like they do the whole less is more, kind of like we were talking about it in Knocked Loose, but like there's nothing that is taken away, but it's only added. It's like simplistic. I'm sure Brandon could probably play every song with his eyes closed, with immediately on the guitar and all that. I'm sure if I sat down, I could play the whole album on the drums, but that's not the point. I sure as hell can't write it. It's like it just hits, and again, you can't not bang your head to it. But I'd say Darwinism and Mud 972, and then they closed the album out with Ant Pile 2, which is like they had a song called Ant Pile on a previous album, and it's just known as one of their bangers with these pinch harmonics. And so they had to do like another second one. And the only reason they do that is for the live show. They do Ant Pile 1 and Ant Pile 2, and the crowd loses their absolute mind. And yeah, got to see him a couple times this year. So my number one was Kubla Khan. And yeah, that's it.
That's a
Super
solid
good
choice.
album.
I had a feeling that was going to be your number one.
Yeah.
Good pick, man. Like I liked it a lot when
Yeah.
it came out. I
Awesome.
listened to it quite a few times, especially in the first couple weeks after it came out. Um, Partially because I know how much you love them, and I really wanted to check it out. And man, I liked it a lot. I still have it. It's still in
I'm
my
glad you did. I
library.
appreciate it. I know it's
Yeah,
not your like straight cup of tea. I know it's not
like
quite your
no,
up your alley.
I checked out Knocked Loose and Boundaries, but I removed them from my library. They're not
Yeah.
something that like really hit me that as much
Hey,
as it did for you guys.
that's the
Not,
beauty of the
but
podcast.
Kubla Khan did, and like it's solid. It's a super good release. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
cool. It's Zumi mentioned having an album that you can just turn it on and enjoy it, and you don't you don't need a PhD in music theory to listen to it, and that's not a knock on it at all.
Yep.
As
They definitely stick
it's
to their
quite
formula, and
refreshing.
some people knocked him, the knock whatever. I know I'm saying that word, we're saying that word a bunch right now, but some people gave him shit for kind of following their same formula. This album's a lot like their last ones, and it's like that's them.
Dude.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's totally
People just
right.
ask for too much out of a band. Then when they change their sound,
Well,
people get furious and say it's not the
that's what
same
I was gonna
anymore.
say. We talked
Mhm.
about this. What happens is they put something out that's the same, and everybody says it sounds just like what they did last album, and they're like, okay. And then they do something different, and then everybody's like, "No, it's nothing like their last album." And you're like,
Yeah,
"Well, what did you
absolutely.
want?" I mean, it's
Yep.
like it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's
Yeah.
always
But for
gonna be
me, like
something.
as an actual true Kubla Khan fan, they really can't do any wrong in my eyes. Then when I heard it, it was just like Brandon said, like you just form that smile, and you're like, yes, yes, this is
Yeah,
it. You just
they're
know
heavy, dude. They're heavy. I like
when
it.
it clicks.
So very, very good choice. I knew it was coming. I knew
Yeah,
that
Yep,
was gonna be on your
I
list. I
know it's
did. I
coming.
know it. But
I think I know
I'm glad
Zoomy's
it's there.
awesome, awesome. I think I know Zoomy's number one, but we'll see.
I don't know.
Maybe
I don't
not.
know.
Maybe
It's
not. No,
nothing
probably
like two.
not.
It's nothing like two, three, four,
I'm
and five.
I'm thinking it's
Okay,
an
then maybe
EP.
not.
Oh, Brandon knows it.
Yeah, I think I know it.
Brandon knows it.
Let's hear
He
it.
said an EP. So I'm glad you said release earlier because I originally said album and this is not. This is an EP. So, Brandon, you saved me. I'm going with Elstorm.
I knew it.
Yeah,
That's
Elstorm.
exactly what I guessed.
yeah.
That's exactly what I
Really?
guessed. Yep,
Voyage of the Dead
absolutely.
Marauder.
You loved
And,
that, and you got to
oh
see him live.
gosh. I think, that was, kind of like last 10 seconds of life. Getting to see Elstorm live was like life changing for me. I mean, it was something else. I had so much fun. They look like they're just having fun, and they're amazing musicians. They can play and sing and play while they sing, and it's it's insane. And the whole just pirate thing. It's the only show I've ever been to where 100 people got down on the ground and row, like they're rowing a
See,
boat.
that's where you do that. They keep doing that at like metalcore shows and stuff, and I'm like, no, it's got to be like Elstorm or
Yeah, it's got to be
Amon
Elstorm
Amarth,
or like
or that's
or
it.
Windrose. You
Yeah,
could get away with that at
absolutely.
Windrose for sure.
It's
Um,
acceptable
Well,
there.
speaking of Windrose,
they only play once a month, folks.
yeah, it was one of my favorite
Oh my
moments from this year is when
god,
Zoomy was
so
reading
much.
those dates. It's like, it looks like they have a show in June and then, and then not until July.
Yeah, so everybody, I don't even remember what episode that was, but we were actually looking at their website to try to talk about some of the shows that they had
Oh my
upcoming because they were
God.
doing a North American tour, and
Oh.
I was reading them the American way, and so for anybody out there who just happens to not be from the United States, if you catch this episode, I'm sure most of you are, but if you catch this episode, you're not from the U.S. We do things backwards. I know we do because we read it as like month, day, year. And so,
It went
December.
on for a while too.
Yeah, oh, it did.
Oh,
It
it
did.
was so
Like, I was
good.
reading it
We were
because,
all real
I
confused.
just I
oh,
just realized it and I was like, are you reading it like an American?
and I
Like,
was like, oh, I'm reading it like an
Because we were like,
American,
how would that
forgetting
make
that,
any sense? Like, how could they
yeah,
afford to do that? I mean,
yeah, just once a month, man. That just sounds silly. And so the reason why is because, if you hadn't connected it yet, I was like, what it really was is it was day, month, year.
they
And
get
so
it.
I was, yeah, flipping that the American way. So sorry about that, rest of the world.
no.
We
Sorry,
love you.
you brought up Windrose. It just ignited in me.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
a good one. That was a good one. That was way, way
Good
earlier in the
times.
that
year too.
was.
That was
Yeah.
like February or March whenever we were
Good
doing that.
times.
Yeah, it
Dude,
was.
good choice. That was
Um,
a really fun EP.
so there's only like 4 or 5 tracks on there, five I think.
I think
And
it's five.
yeah, five. And this is another one for me that just starts out strong. Like the first song is kind of their more serious one of the
Mhm.
entire deal. But it's a good song, and they have like Patty Gurdy, I believe, is the female vocalist that comes in and does the chorus part. She does really good. It fits in the song really good. And even whenever they were doing live, they had somebody who was running merch for, I think it was the band Glyph, I want to say, and she was running. She might have just been running merch for a bunch of them, but anyway, she was on stage doing it live that part, and she did really good. She really made it sound just like the album, and so that was fun. And then my favorite just fun song is the last Saskatchewan Pirate. I love that.
That's a good one.
There's a lot of like heave ho, kind of stuff that goes on in that one, and it's totally
But,
pirate if you know what I mean.
yeah.
Arr.
Uzbekistan was one of my favorite ones on there, and then can't listen to it without jamming Sea Shanty too. But so that was actually a staple in my truck this year with Harper, my 5-year-old daughter. I did delete from my library the last song, um,
Is that
something
cock?
about the yeah, uh, 5-year-old, and she was wanting to listen to that thing. We would go to the aquarium store or something. We'd listen to it like 5 times. I was like, all right, I can't keep, so I just got rid of that song. But yeah, dude, like that one got a lot of playtime in my truck. It is super fun. I'm a fan of just about everything Ailstorm has done. So I had a feeling I would like that one. Obviously it wasn't on my list, but because I didn't say it, that's why I say obviously. But it was really good. It was such a cool release, and it did get a lot of playtime. So good choice, man. Very good choice. And they do put on a hell of a live show.
Oh gosh, yeah. I can't wait to see them again. The unfortunate thing is they're from like Scotland or Wales, or I can't remember one of the two.
Yeah,
And
Scotland, I think.
yeah,
Hmm.
I think it is Scotland. Yeah, and so I better be careful not get those crossed. They might be like, we're not from Wales, you know. But yeah, I realize that they might not be coming, to my Norman, Oklahoma City area anytime super soon. So can't wait to see them though.
Hell yeah. Well, guys, that was a fun exercise. I
All
hope you
right,
guys had as much
5.
fun as I did listening to music this year. Looking forward to another good year next year.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see if it just keeps
It was a
happening,
good
man.
year
I
of
mean,
music.
like I said, since COVID's happening, like everybody's just trying to put out all their music and it's been really good. And so everybody just got really schooled up during COVID time. I still feel
yeah,
like it had an effect on the music world. I don't really know why. I guess everybody was locked in. They got a chance to, reignite
And
their
time to write.
passions. Yeah, they had a chance to write some and they got back in the groove. And we all know what happens when you get in the groove. It just starts coming, starts flowing. So,
that's right. Tell you another highlight for me this year was two concerts in particular. Well, I guess three. I got to see Crypta, which was awesome. Um, and then stabbing and 200 stab wounds together was bonkers. That was really cool. That was quite the experience. Got to meet Matt Day that night, the bassist player for Stabbing and Architectural Genocide, who ended up being a guest on one of our episodes and is an awesome dude. Uh, Happy I get to call him a friend these days. Another highlight for me was getting to see Cytotoxin just a few weeks ago. Been a fan of them for years now. I don't think they've ever been to the States. On stage they even said it took 14 years or something. And when you get 12 or 14 years, when you go back, that was like their first release. I don't think they've ever been here. And fuck, they are so tight. I hope there's. I know they put out Hope Terminator. There was a single this year. Hopefully, there's an album to go with it. I would love to hear some new music, a follow up to Nuclear Earth. But yeah, I just wanted to throw those things out there because those were some special moments for me this year. Getting to see those three concerts in particular. There was a lot other really good ones, but I had to throw that in there.
Brandon, I got to see Crypta too, and that was on my birthday, and I thought that was special. And also get to see Hatebreed, like at that same show, and Carcass, which just to me was just like this just random, like popcorn, game of bands that they were just like pop. And they were like, oh, let's put them on a bill, and oh, okay, let's just put all these guys on a bill together, and it still, in my opinion, worked really well, and was a lot of fun to see. So that was a real good show. And then Elstorm, which I already mentioned, was just something else. So
Yeah,
those are two that stood out to me. I was like, oh, Brandon threw out two. I'll throw out a couple.
Greg, did you have any outstanding concerts this
Say,
year?
Cal Decap probably aborted, and
Oh yeah.
who else? I don't know. I saw a bunch of them. I'm kind of drawing a blank right now, but damn.
Well, you got to see Kublai Khan,
Uh,
right?
yeah, they were killer. They were killer. Lorna Shore played it after him, which I love that album they played and all that in its entirety. But the too many cell phones in my face kind of ruined the vibe. But yeah, it was a good year for shows for sure. Rivers and Nile killed
Yeah.
it at 89th Street for sure. It's a good year. Good year for concerts.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that Rivers and Nile show was really good. I had a
Yeah, it
lot of
was
fun with that
awesome.
one too.
Really good
It's a good
set.
show.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
awesome guys.
Yeah. At least one more good one to look out for next year with the aborted tour with Peeling Flesh, Stabbing, and
Absolutely.
oh man, I'm drawing a blank on the last band, but that's going to be an exciting one too.
Yeah, that'll be
So
killer.
yeah,
Most
cool.
definitely. Well, thank you everybody out there for listening to our top 5 albums of or releases of 2024, and looking forward to just bringing you more and more metal. Hopefully, you get to hear some of this. You get to remember something that you either heard and forgot about, need to go check out again, or you didn't get to listen to it. This is your chance. Year's almost over. This is like school. You know, you once you stop, there's no going back. You know, it's really hard to go back. So, you know, keep listening every day so that you keep up with all these new bands, and hopefully you get a lot out of it. We're enjoying it. We're going to keep bringing you more and more and more. So, everybody, happy holidays from the Metal Block, and keep rocking out. Over and out.
Later, blockheads.
Later.